Hello and welcome to Jump To It for IrishRacing.com and Betting Expert. I'm Shane Anderson and today's day 5, the final day of the Royal Ascot week, and what a week it's been. Yesterday we had so much drama. There was a lot of rain, there was big questions as to whether we'd actually have racing at Ascot, but of course the stewards determined that we would, and we saw some brilliant action on the track. We've got a lot to talk about as we not only reflect on yesterday, but also look ahead to what should be a pretty interesting card to bet on, as I welcome in the team Stephen Harris, Ed Quigley and Vincent Finegan. Guys, welcome. Stephen, I'll start with you. What drama yesterday? We didn't know whether we were actually going to race at Ascot yesterday due to the weather conditions until pretty much about 90 minutes before the first race was scheduled. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, it's an extraordinary day, Shane, wasn't it? It was 3-1 on at one point that it'd be called off on the leading betting exchange. It's pretty amazing. That was a very interesting market. I'm glad it did go ahead because we'd have had a 10-race extravaganza and we'd be running into lunchtime with this programme trying to get through them all. We had Campanelle getting the race in the stewards' room. That was another amazing race. The pair of them were a furlong clear. I think that was the right decision. And, of course, Andrew Balding had a double, and I'm hoping today that he can kick on and have a few more winners. It's a really good card today to finish off the week.
It's a welcome, Ed, in. Well, Ed, surprisingly bouncy considering it was a 0-0 draw between England and Scotland last night. So that must mean you've got some good things on today's programme. It surely can be the only reason why you're so up and about today.
Absolutely, Shane. You are spot on. Looking forward to the final day. Soft ground once again. A couple of we flagged in previous shows, actually, you come to the fore here on testing ground. We'll discuss later on the show. But yeah, it was fascinating action yesterday, wasn't it? All the kind of controversy you want. Very hard. I mean, we've talked all week about muddling draw bias and pace angles, and to be honest with you, a lot of it has just gone out the window now. It became a battle of wills, a war of attrition, and just who could stick it out in very testing conditions.
What did you think of yesterday's decision around the protest? Stephen said he thought it was the right decision going the way of Campanelle over Dragon Symbol. Do you see it similarly?
Yes, without major conviction. I was interested to listen to the debate in terms of it's the interpretation of the rules and how you interpret them. Essentially, is the conclusion you come to in the stewards, and in other jurisdictions, it would have been instantly that would have been sorted out and overturned. And the problem is the fact. Again, I always think the rules clearly aren't clear enough if 25 minutes after a 5-furlong race is being run, you're still having the debate about what's actually happened. So there's probably something there in the chat for another day in terms of the grey areas of racing and stewardship and the actual rules and the result you're given. But look, nonetheless, I think by and large, looking at the head-on, there was sufficient evidence there that Frankie Dettori, what was the winning margin ahead? It was probably enough. But again, it would go very finally on that Shane. It's problem with it is no empirical evidence. It's not right or wrong. It's not 2 + 2 = 4. A lot of them are grey areas, and it's how they are interpreted, which ultimately one team's going to go home and a happy an arbitrary decision at the end of the day.
And Vincent, as I welcome you in, and first of all, congratulations, you were in fantastic form tipping-wise yesterday, and I'm looking forward to seeing what your selections will be today. But we need to talk about the mental strength, I think, of Oisin Murphy. He loses one Group 1 in the protest room. He comes out 35 minutes later and wins another Group 1, and in emphatic style. He really has evolved into being this remarkably gifted and quite brilliant jockey.
But I'd agree. Look, basically all the top athletes are able to do that. They're able to just pass it away. The bad stuff goes into the background. It's always on to the next race, the next game, the next whatever it is in whatever sport. They can all do it. He's a very good rider, and you'd expect him to do it, but you'd expect most of the top guys to do it. A Ruby Walsh should get up from a fall, or Rachel Blackmore, any of those, and do the same in the next race, no problem. The one thing I would say about that, the inquiry yesterday, I think it was probably the right decision, but the problem with these decisions all the time is it's toss a coin stuff in both Ireland and the UK. You're just never sure what's really going to happen. I often feel that maybe it'd be a good idea, give them a third option. That at the moment it's either leave the winner there or promote the second. Why not, in some instances, when it's that close for the decision to say was the interference so much that they should reverse the result, make it a dead heat. Just give the two of them the thing. It makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. Like, we have to wait. If you take it from in a normal situation, if there was a full crowd at Ascot and everything else in normal times, or a major race anywhere else, you've got all the delay in the betting. First off, people are waiting to collect off one race to place a bet in the next race and so on. it causes havoc with totes at those big meetings as well, where you've queues of people trying to collect, queues of people trying to get on in the next race and everything else. Who does it inconvenience realistically? Nobody. If you just got dead heat rules apply, both sets of punters get paid out, both sets of connections are both winners. They divide the pot. Everybody's happy, I think, particularly in major races where you're talking about grade ones or group ones. Give them both it. I don't see it being a major problem, and I think it solves a lot of issues when it's a grey area, because the problem we have all the time is that some people are going to be very annoyed when they don't reverse the result or when they reverse it. So, and you get appeals coming and everything else. It just seems a nice little option. Give them a third option where necessary.
I think that's a fantastic idea. In fact, before we press on, I might just ask the other two gents their thoughts on that. I mean, Stephen and Ed, I think Vincent raises a really good point. Why not? If there is interference like that, but it is so tight and there is perhaps a sitting on the fence mentality, whether it should be the winner being demoted or not, why not go down the path of looking at a dead heat result?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time I've thought of it, to be honest with you, but I can see the one positive would be the speed. I think Vincent's right. You can't have these 20-minute things that are running into the next race. From a bookmaker's point of view, it just ruins turnover. Nobody's had their winnings back from the previous race, and a lot of punters play race to race, especially at the track where on a normal day it would have caused carnage and ruined betting on the next race. So I can see that. I guess one of the issues would be that if you felt that you were about to get headed and beaten, you could probably try and cause interference knowing you weren't going to lose the race, i.e. try and stop the other one going past you. So I guess there would be issues around how races were ridden if they knew they weren't actually going to lose and would get a dead heat if they caused interference. But I can totally see it from a sort of bookmaking and a logistics point of view.
Ed, do you have a view?
Yeah, again, I'd echo a lot of what Stephen says there. I suppose it seems to be a bit the old-fashioned draconian ways of the stewardship and the rules. It's either you've got to have a winner, you've got to have a loser. There is a right and there is a wrong, and someone's got to suffer for it. It seems almost like by rewarding someone a dead heat and the share of the pot for causing what is officially a break of the rules. In the minds of the rules and the stewards, it would almost seem, I suppose, a bit unfair or crass. I suppose so. No, but there's a lot of logic in what Vincent's saying from a kind of, as I said, just yesterday, it was going on, it was nearly half an hour and we were still debating, and I thought, look, we've all looked at it 20 times. It's kind of 51-49% in terms of who agrees with it, who doesn't agree with it. There needs to be a way of at least speeding the process up or some more hard and fast rules to get to. I mean, very quickly, I always find it very interesting that they bring the jockeys in for their viewpoints. I mean, is that absolutely necessary, I wonder? Like in any other sport, if it was in rugby, the Six Nations, it would be dealt with between the referee and the TMO. In cricket, it'd be dealt with between the third umpire. Only very rarely, if there's a real breach of something sinister, would you call a player in to say what's happened here. If, like, as Australians know all about the ball tampering sagas, etc. So, look, in all seriousness, I just wonder if that, listening to Frankie Dettori say, look, I've done absolutely nothing wrong for 15 minutes. Listen to Oisin Murphy say there was nothing I could do about it for 15 minutes. Are you really gleaning a lot more evidence from the end of that than you perhaps knew in the first place? I don't know. Maybe he just needs looking at and revising, because you say 25 minutes later in a huge race on television watched by millions of people, and no one, to be honest with you, had the foggiest idea what was going on.
Vincent, just one last point before we move on. Do you agree whether jockeys should be involved in those protest hearings or not? I mean, some jurisdictions will have jockeys and trainers giving a point of view as well. Do you think we need that, or should it just be the decision of the vision on the screen, the stewards making the call?
Well, I suppose in some instances you would need some discussion from them. There may be some mitigating circumstances, but realistically, overall, I'd say no, they don't. The only thing is, if you look at soccer, when a decision for a penalty or a yellow card, red card, the players do add their little tuppence worth in there most of the time as well, and they're screaming at the ref. So like, there's not the same opportunity for jockeys to shout and scream when the incident happens to say what they felt. But I agree. Look, it's all delaying tactics in the whole process. They need to be streamlined, and there should be either you have a set of rules like the French used to have with these inquiries, where it's an automatic disqualification. Then everybody knows. Then everybody rides to the rules, and there is no issue. But when you're going to have the grey areas, that's when you start getting all this messing going on, having to talk to everyone. And like, the bottom line again is, I know Stephen was saying there, you might get people riding for my option of giving them a third option of a dead heat. You might get people riding for that. But no, it's still going to be the same. It's only when they cannot absolutely make a cast iron decision one way or the other that give them that sitting on the fence option. Maybe they'll abuse that as well, the stewards, and they'll use it every time. But you'd like to think they wouldn't. It's only for those very marginal cases. And you wrap it up in 5 minutes and we move on.
All right, guys, speaking of moving on, we need to move on because we've got a great card of racing to get through today. But before we do, let's reflect on the results out of yesterday. So we're 4 days down, and we now have a standout performer, and that is Vincent Finegan, who has timed his run to perfection with his selections throughout the week, just building momentum each and every day, and he's now 19.15 units up in profit, well ahead of me, who's just gone backwards after a big solid start day one. Stephen's still battling away, and Ed, enormous amount of pressure going on you today to land a few long prize winners. So that is a look at the team standings as we go into day 5, the final day here of Royal Ascot. Now we kick off race number 1 on the card, and this is the Chesham Stakes for the 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs. I love this race. You often see a really good horse emerge out of it, and I think we're going to see one today, and that potentially is the market leader, Point Lonsdale, named in honour of that beautiful township in Victoria and Australia. 13-8 favourite, William Hill, best price at the moment. Masakila is at 4-1. New Science at 5-1. We get out to Reach for the Moon at 15-2, and then a longer price, Great Max, next in the market, 12-1, 14-1, or bigger for the field. As I said, Stephen, we often see horses that can use this to stepping stones of better things. It's a sort of a longer distance race for 2-year-olds at this stage of their career. I mean, they're only fairly early into the game, and they're already getting out to 7 furlongs. Who do you like?
I think this is a really good race. We've got the shortest price favourite of the day, so it'll be make or break, owned by some of the biggest players in the game. We've talked about this all week. 7-4 at the moment, Point Lonsdale. Now, will he be hammered? Will the heavy mob want to play? He could be a very short price favourite. Or if you're going on form and the exchange driven and the algorithms who price up these horses, I would imagine he could drift. He was workmanlike in making a winning debut under Heffernan, up on the pace throughout. He was under pressure at halfway, but found plenty. Looked a relentless galloper. He's going to get a positive ride from Ryan Moore. I'm sure he's the one to beat. But Masakala of Andrew Balding, which is a stable that is having winners with 2-year-olds this week, which is not something you can say about Aidan O'Brien as it happens. And this one was very, very highly regarded at home before making a winning debut at Goodwood. A few things went wrong there. Didn't get the cleanest of run, pulled a bit early on. That was on soft ground, ran on strongly in the style of a really smart performer. So I'm confident that Masakala, who's 4-1, I think that's a fair price. The extra furlong should definitely suit. Andrew Balding's flying. The ground's no problem. Should be loads more to come. I think when they're 7-4 and 4-1, you can only go one way.
Yeah, good point. Masakala certainly has had good market support in the last 24 hours or so, Stephen. So it does look a really legitimate leading contender into this race. All right, Ed, give us your view.
Yeah, just purely on value grounds, I thought Point Lonsdale in a race with so many unexposed types just doesn't float my boat at unders of 2-1, to be honest with you. But New Science I did think was very interesting. Charlie Appleby team, obviously in very good form. This individual actually bolted up over 7 furlongs on debut at Yarmouth. Again, you can question the form to some extent, but look, a relentless galloper, I think, is the way this horse looks. I don't think soft ground's going to be an issue. His sire, Lope de Vega, handled plenty of give in the ground, it has to be said, back in his days in France. So that's a reason for optimism. And as I said, I think this horse will be over a mile and a quarter, mile and a half in time. But I expect similar tactics in a way to what Stephen's mentioned on Point Lonsdale. I don't think William Buick's going to want to mess around here. I think a prominent ride, has a bit of an E-action, this horse, and try and run them into ground. 11-2 versus 7-4. Again, very tentative, given there's a lot of unknown quantities in here.
It's interesting just watching the market moves with New Science. Sort of had a significant drift, but now starting to tighten up again. So perhaps on speed could be very hard to beat. What about you, Vincent?
Oh, I think this is a 10-star bet here. This favourite, I think he's a good thing. Bottom line is, you're looking for horses who tick boxes for you, all the different boxes. He ticks every single box for me. He's bred in the purple. He's trained by the best trainer. He's ridden by one of the best jockeys. He's got form over the distance. He's got form over the ground. He's a wide margin winner first time out. They only ran him the first day basically to get a prep run for here. He was working unbelievably at home. earmarked this race straight away. It's where he was coming. It's the plan. The stable has had 3 winning favourites in this in the last 5 years. I think 7-4 is a great price. I think he'll win. That's the bottom line. He will win, and the price really doesn't matter after that.
Vincent, I'm 100% with you. I think he might be a star in the making, Point Lonsdale, and I think he'll win this and win it easily. And I think at the current price, it actually just might be good odds for a horse with the potential that I think he has. So I'm betting big Point Lonsdale in the Chesham. Let's have a look at the team selections across the board. So Stephen's going with Masakila at 4-1 to win. New Science from Ed currently at 5-1 to win. Then Point Lonsdale, both very keen, Vincent and myself, to see this Aidan O'Brien trained 2-year-old son of Australia to win the Chesham. We move on to race number 2, and this is the Jersey Group 3 contest for the 3-year-olds over 7 furlongs. Creative Force, who's been in terrific form this season with 3 wins in a row. 5-1 market leader, best price, bet 365. Mutasar Beckett's at 13-2 with Ladbrokes. Khartoum at 7-1, and Light Refrain is at 12-1. Let's just get your views here, Stephen, as we have a look at this contest over 1,400 metres. You siding with the one at the top of the market, Creative Force, who's been in good form, or have you found something else for us?
No, I think it's at least 6-1 the field, Shane. Not a punter-friendly race. This 19-runner Group 3, so the each-way terms are in the bookmaker's favour. A small win bet for me on William Haggis's filly Light Refrain. She's been running over 6 furlongs so far this season. I was really taken with her coming from last to first. She flopped out the stalls at Nottingham in quite a warm little listed race, and it was a pretty remarkable performance. Next time at Haydock in a muddling race, things didn't pan out for her. They've gone up to 7 furlongs. She has tried it in the past. She ran really well over it last season at Salisbury. So I'm not worried about the trip. 14-1. She's probably nearly 20 on the exchanges. I think that's a few points over the odds. And the other one I've had a good message for in this race is Tactical, who will like the ground and should go well as well at another double-figure price. But this is a really hard race and small stakes for me.
All right, I just want to point to one thing out there. Both Tactical and Light Refrain are owned by Queen Elizabeth. So are you on some sort of inside knowledge with Her Majesty to get that sort of intel, or are you going elsewhere?
Shane, I know. We don't want to get into an argument Republicans against monarchists, Shane, at this time of the morning. But I think perhaps it'd be lovely to see, won't it? And I know you'll be cheering her on in your patriotic way.
I'll even put the top hat on. So Light Refrain there from Stephen, currently at around 12-1, bet 365. All right, Ed, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, obviously myself and Stephen in the Royal Spy WhatsApp group here, because I'm massively good at that. Light Refrain has a chance here. Again, I'm not going to repeat everything Stephen says, but up to 7 furlongs I think would be a positive. Was ridden off the pace in a muddling affair in the Sandy Lane last time out at Haydock on very deep ground. Got going far too late, but was staying on in the closing stages. William Haggis' team are flying and has form figures on softer heavy ground of 1, 2 and 4. So will handle conditions. Again, as confident as you can be. 90-runner race. Look, you don't know where the pace or the draw necessarily is going to come from, but I do think this horse will handle conditions. The yard are flying. I think the step up to 7 furlongs is a positive.
All right, another push for Light Refrain. Vincent, give us your assessment.
Well, I think maybe we're going to see another Irish winner here. This Khartoum has a definite chance. Very expensive purchase as a yearling. I think it cost $1 million. He's a proper soft ground horse. He's had 4 runs so far. First time out was a maiden, okay, just having a quiet opening run, but that was on decent ground, didn't run that well. Then pops up on soft ground, then has a poor run when he comes over to the UK. And then he goes back to Ireland and wins again on very soft ground. Basically, according to Aidan and Ryan Moore the last day in Naas, this was proper soft ground. I know Joseph O'Brien had the second horse that day, a horse called Visualization, who runs later on today, and it'll be interesting to see how Khartoum runs in relation to that. But when that won the next day, Visualization, Joseph was saying this is a rapid improving horse, but we got beaten by a real good one the last day. So I think this is a very good horse. He'd all the top entries, Derby entries and everything else. So it'd be interesting to see. He's conflicting prices here. The bookmakers are keeping him relatively short. He's sort of 6 or 7 to 1 with a lot of them, but he's out to 12, 13, even 14 to 1 on Betfair. So maybe he's only a little each way play, but the fact he goes on the ground, I'd give him a definite chance.
All right, Khartoum for the Irish from Vincent there. Look, I might be completely off the boil here, but I'm quite keen to back Nando Parado in this race. He won the Coventry last year at 150 to 1. He subsequently then was runner-up to Campanelle in a Group 1 in France. He then also ran well, although well beaten in another feature race in France and soft going. I think he's a legitimate listed Group 3 horse. It's just because he won a Coventry last year, he was tried in the deeper end. 1,400 metres or 7 furlongs. With given the ground at around 28 to 1, 30 to 1, I'm thinking he just might be a good each way bet here. So I'm happy to put him on top as my selection. Let's have a look at the team's tips for the Jersey. So Light Refrain, good push for Her Majesty's runner from Stephen and Ed. Vincent with Khartoum and Nando Parado from me, 28 to 1 each way. Let's press on to the Hardwick. This is over 1.5 miles, a race that over the years has always been a real highlight of the Royal Ascot Week. And we've got Wonderful Tonight, the market leader at the moment, at 4 to 1. Broome is at 9 to 2. Albaflora at 11 to 2. Ilarab and Kum are both at 6 to 1. Then we get out to 10 to 1 or bigger for the remainder of the field. Stephen, interesting Hardwick this year because quite often we'll see a real top-class, Group 1 horse go around in this. I think this year perhaps the field is not as strong as you'd hope, but it certainly does look to be an interesting betting race.
Yeah, the one who's been strong, Shane, is Manuzier's Wonderful Tonight, who's got ground conditions come absolutely right for her. She gets the fillies allowance. That'll be a big help. I suspect she's going to be very popular. I know she's 100% fit. I get a good Manusier card. She's very strongly fancied. Broome has run 15 times. He's pretty exposed. He's a hard knock. He finds. He was just mugged on the post last time. I'm sure he'll run well again up in trip. That'll suit him. But the one I like here is Wokingham of Owen Burrows. Now, he's a 4-year-old, a very strong traveller with a sharp turn of foot. Doesn't do a lot in front, so he only ever just does enough. He was workmanlike at Goodwood last time at a short price. He should strip fitter again for that run. I like the fact he's had one run at Ascot over this course and distance. He won the King George handicap last year narrowly from Kipps, again dossing around in front once he'd asserted. So I think Wokingham, if he gets the breaks, he can swoop late. He's got a smart turn of foot. He's going to be about 7 to 1, which I think is a fair price.
All right, Wokingham there from Stephen. Ed, give us your view.
Yeah, I'm with Wokingham. I've got to ask you, I mean, this race, as you pointed out at the top there, Shane, normally you think there's a Sir Michael Stout good thing in here, even money or something. But on ratings and on betting, you can throw a blanket over a lot of these, £2 or £3 separating them. Very fine margins in play here. Wokingham, though, as Stephen says, did it nicely last year over 1.5 miles. This has been the target for some time. Battled it out nicely at Goodwood last time out on soft ground. I would be more confident if the ground was just a bit better, just because he does have such a nice natural turn of foot. That would just be the one thing that would make me slightly worried. But look, I think there's not a lot between these. Betting would suggest that. Official figures would suggest that. So price driven, around 7 to 1. Wokingham, for a previous Royal Ascot winner, would get the nod for me.
All right, another good push there from Ed with Wokingham. So Stephen and Ed both with Wokingham. Just word coming through, Logician is now out of this race. So we've got 4 scratchings from this race, with the other runners that have come out being Bangkok, Mogul and Tiger Moth. So 4 scratchings out of the Hardwick. All right, Vincent, give us your assessment.
Well, I'd be inclined to agree with the guys, except for the fact that I'm just a little bit wary about Wokingham on the ground. I think that horse definitely prefers better ground. Otherwise, I'd agree. I love this horse. I think he's a very good horse. For me, I went for Wonderful Tonight because of the ground. That's the main reason. I'm glad to hear Stephen say that he hears the horses, that she's 100% fit. If she is, she can't be out of the first 3 realistically in this ground. The other player for me then is Broome as well. He's danced every dance this year. He's had a load of runs. Definitely going to be involved. Whether he's just good enough, I don't know. I'd say if Wokingham is on his game and performs on the ground, Wokingham will probably beat Broome. Wonderful Tonight can't be out of the first 3 in my opinion, so that's why I went for that one.
Okay, good case there. I was originally going for Logician. I was giving him one last chance, but he's out. I'm now with Wonderful Tonight. I think she just might be a safe option here. If you're getting around that 9 to 2, 4 to 1 mark, I think she's certainly going to give you a great run for your money. So let's have a look at the team selections across the board for the Hardwick. So Wokingham, good push from Stephen and Ed. Wonderful Tonight from Vincent. And as I mentioned, Logician's now out, so I'll also be with Vincent there with Wonderful Tonight for the Hardwick Stakes. Race number 4 on the card at Royal Ascot today is the Group 1 Diamond Jubilee Stakes over the straight 6 furlongs, and we have Dream of Dreams as the market leader, currently 5 to 2 for this horse that's run so well in this race over the past couple of years. Naha at 4 to 1, Art Power at 6 to 1 along with Glen Shiel, Senalia at 10 to 1, and then we get out to 14 to 1 or bigger for the remainder of the field. All right, Stephen, who do you like in the Diamond Jubilee?
Well, this was the nap of the week, Shane, and I know Ed agreed. We had Starman, much bigger price, 9 to 2 down to 5 to 2, taken out. I'm glad he's been taken out. Ed Walker's always said that he wants fast, top of the ground, and soft ground. He'd have been a big drifter, and I don't think he'd have taken part. I think now it's down to 2 horses with standout claims. Art Power, who I really respect, got a very negative ride at York after a slow break, will be a lot fitter, bound to run well. Tim Easterby's horses in the north in particular are absolutely flying at the minute, so I'm very wary of that one. But I do think Dream of Dreams, who's got a very good record in this race, probably should have won the last 2 years running of this race, finishing well from poor positions, must go well, handles soft ground, Ryan Moore booked, 5 to 2. Whether there's any juice in that price now in a sprint where margins are tiny, there's not that much between them and likely to have to come from behind, I don't know, but Dream of Dreams would be my selection. But I do fear Art Power, and just briefly, Nahar, who finished second to Starman at York. I don't think Nahar wants soft ground. All of his form is on fast ground or good ground at worst, so I'd be worried about that one on heavy ground.
Okay, but on top there, Dream of Dreams from Stephen. Ed, give us your assessment.
Yeah, if you go back to our show from a month ago, myself and Stephen were, Starman, if the ground comes up quick. But I said I maintain if the ground turns to absolute slop, Art Power is a horse I would only back in those conditions, and he's got his ground here today. Absolutely hacked up, admittedly off a mark of 97 in a handicap at Royal Ascot last year on soft ground in a very impressive time. And the only ever time he's run at Ascot was on soft ground in the Champions Sprint Group 1 at the back end of last season. He was beaten a length. Where he ran an absolute stormer. He's going to have his conditions here today. He was raced with, how should we say, other targets in mind at York last time out. I think that was very much a ring rust removal job. He'll strip a lot fitter for this. He's got his ground, and he's back at a track where he's arguably shown his 2 best bits of form. So, yeah, Art Power for myself. He's in a minefield of a punting day. He's pretty much my strongest fancy.
All right, good push for Art Power. All right, Vincent, your views in the big Group 1 sprint?
Well, I think this is very tricky. I've gone for Dream of Dreams. Basically, I suppose if you ran this race 10 times, Dream of Dreams would probably win it 3 or 4. Won't be far away is the bottom line for me. I'm looking at some of these today. There's a lot of these that if you were to couple them in each way multiples, I think you've got a real chance here. Dream of Dreams, very hard to see Dream of Dreams being out of the first 3 here. The other one here that I know the guys haven't mentioned yet, but I would be very keen on at its best is Glen Shield, the Holly Doyle mount. It's by Pivotal, that's the first thing. And in this ground, it won in heavy ground last October here, beat Brando in a big sprint where you had Dream of Dreams blew out in that and finished down the field. Sonalia was behind as well, the Irish horse. The Sonalia horse of Pat Toomey's. I think a lot of this, I'm just not quite seeing it every time, but there's money for it most of these days. It came over to Ascot last year and there was money for it as well. It'll probably run well enough, I suppose, but I just couldn't see it win. For me, I thought Dream of Dreams can't be out of the first 3, basically.
All right, Dream of Dreams on top from Vincent. I'm very much in that camp as well, and in a way it's a process of elimination. I actually don't think it's a very strong renewal of the Diamond Jubilee, and the one proven Group 1 horse in this race of Dream of Dreams. I think he's bomb-proof against his rivals, and I think he's the horse to beat clearly. Let's have a look at the team selections across the board. So 3 of us are with Dream of Dreams, currently at 5 to 2, best price bet 365. Art Power from Ed, but he made a strong case for it with Softish going. You're getting around 6 to 1 at the moment with Paddy Power. That's the Group 1 Diamond Jubilee. We move on now to race number 5 on the card today, and this is the Wokingham Stakes, again over the straight. 6 furlongs, and King's Lynn is the market leader at 4 to 1 with Bet 365. Rohan at 5 to 1 with Ladbrokes. Fresh at 8 to 1 with Coral, as is Pendleton 8 to 1 with William Hill. Desert Safari 12 to 1 with William Hill, and that's the field at this stage. All right, Stephen, who do you like in the big field sprint handicap?
Well, I actually think this is one of the races where punters are entitled to have a bet, Shane. It's 25 runners now. We've lost 5. We might lose some more as well. If you look around, there'll be bookmakers offering at least 6 places here for each way betting, and that is where the value lies. There aren't many of these who'll handle the ground. I think if you had a short list of about 8, you might find the winner. And I really like Pendleton of Michael Dodds. Now, although this one's gone up £6 for winning at York the other day, the manner of that victory was pretty taking on soft ground, quickening up smartly to lead late. So I'm not worried about the weights rise. He handles the conditions, which counts for plenty. He's run twice at Ascot. In 2019, he won a 17-runner handicap on soft ground in October, and he returned in May after a long absence to finish a brilliant second of 18 on good to soft ground over this course and distance. He's got stalled 2, so he's right over on the far side, but there's plenty of pace on over there. He's going to get a hold-up ride each way, 6 places, 8-1. I think he's probably the best bet of the day.
All right, massive push there for Pendleton. Good luck to you there. Ed, give us your assessment.
Yeah, again, looks wide open. I can understand the King's Lynn's officially well in, and has to try and back up a pretty decent run earlier in the week. I understand what Stephen said, especially with the ground. Pendleton's absolute mudlark, which obviously has to come into the equation. But I thought Rohan is a horse quite remarkable, actually. If you go back 6 months ago, was winning an all-weather nursery at Newcastle off a mark of 55. He now finds himself up at 112. Has got up 57 pounds throughout the first half of the year. Quite credible, really. Went to Ascot, spoilt the party in the Group 3 there, the Commonwealth Cup trial on his penultimate start at 22-1. Now, what was really fascinating was last time out, he went up then to a Group 2. Massive drift from the day out to 33-1, mainly because small trainer, in relative terms, David Evans, was on the television saying they're in 2 minds whether to pull the horse out because they just really don't think he'll go on the ground. I think he ran on the ground once as a 2-year-old on very deep ground, was absolutely tailed off. Well, voila, he comes out 33-1 in an absolute swamp at Haydock and wins a Group 2. I don't know where the ceiling of improvement is to this horse, to be honest with you. So he's proven he can handle conditions. He proved he likes this track. I mean, he won a Group 3 on his penultimate start. Just seems to be going from strength to strength. And I do think there is a little bit here, Shane, of the kind of small trainer snobbery going on a little bit with him. He's incredibly impressive. He's going from strength to strength, and everyone keeps looking elsewhere. I think he's rock solid. I think he's around 7-8-1 mark. Again, check your each way terms. Very hard to see this group performer who is in a handicap out of the frame.
Again, I like that angle that you're pushing there with Rohan. So he's certainly one that perhaps isn't getting the recognition he deserves going into this race. Vincent, give us your assessment.
Realistically, this should be a lottery. One favourite in the last 10 years, I think. I was looking for the heavy ground. Some horses grow an extra leg when they get this sort of ground, and there's 2 of them in here for me, and they're big prices, and maybe the little bit of value has gone out of one of them, which is Air Raid. The other one is the top weight, Snazzy Jazzy. Both of these, when they get very heavy ground, they seem to perform at their absolute best. So I just think each way, as Stephen says, there's value here with some of the bookmakers still going maybe 6 or 7 places, even though there's been a few non-runners. One or either of those horses, or both of those horses, could well be in the first 6 or 7 at nice prices. It's one of those lottery races, very small stakes in my mind.
All right, bit of value though from Vincent, particularly with Air Raid being on top there. I actually had this race marked down to 3 chances, and it's not often that it'd be this way where I'm actually steering towards those in the market. Kingsling off the back up from last Tuesday when running quite well in the Group 1 Kingstand Stakes. Horses can do a good backup during Royal Ascot Week in these sprint races, and I think he does look well in. I certainly agree with Stephen. I think Pendleton's a great chance here. But the horse I'm going for is Fresh, who just touched off Pendleton last time out. I think at around 8-1 for Kieran Schumacher. He's a good each-way option here. He should handle the conditions okay. He's red-hot fit and red-hot ready to go. So I've got him on top, Fresh. Let's have a look at the team selections for the Wokingham across the board. Pendleton from Stephen, Rohan from Ed, Vincent, Air Raid at a big price, a small each-way option there, and I'm with Fresh. We move on to the Golden Gate Stakes, which is race number 6 on the card, and King Frankel is the favourite for this contest. Now, King Frankel is currently around that 9-2 mark with Boyle Sports. Alphadel at 5-1 along with C-Set, both with Bet365. Fantastic Fox is at 9-1 with Triple Eight, and Fox's Tails at 11-1 with William Hill, 12-1 or bigger the remainder of the field. Stephen, we've got a 10 furlong handicap contest here, Class 2 for the 3-year-olds. Give us your assessment.
Yeah, at the moment, Shane, it's 16 runners, but I've got a bit of 11 to 10 to go, that there's 16 runners come post time. So I'll be very careful here as a punter. I'm going to play win only. I like Fantastic Fox of Roger Varian. Now, this one started off with a run on heavy ground, so that shouldn't be a problem. Second time out, finished 3rd behind Snow Lantern, who ran an absolute blinder in the Coronation yesterday. So that form now reads particularly well. He was sent to Hamilton to get off the mark. Long odds on there, beat nothing, easily hard on the bridle. I quite like Varian doing that. I think he thinks that if you win a maiden at Hamilton, you get a lower mark than if you win one at Newbury. And I think that's probably quite a good tactic. So Fantastic Fox is up 2 furlongs in trip, which is a slight question mark on this sort of ground. But he's 8-1. I think he'll go really close. A mark of 94, I think, could have been a lot worse, particularly on that Snow Lantern line of form.
All right, Fantastic Fox, a nice option there from Stephen. Ed, who are you with?
Again, looking at ground, I'm looking at potential. Pythagoras is definitely one that fits the bill for the Richard Fahey team. Have been on the mark this week. Had some very good soft ground form last year, it has to be said. Things have not gone right this season, admittedly on a much quicker surface, and probably in truth being out of his depth, including the Dante last time out behind Hurricane Lane and et al. Interesting, this one here in this level, this grade, with the rain coming in his favour, has run really well and kind of bashed on the door, shall we say, in group company. Should find this, this drop in grade clearly to his liking. Okay, wide open race, lots of runners, but will handle conditions. Yard are going well, each way price, and as I said, I think it's a wide open contest. But Pythagoras with ground, crucially, that will suit, could come into play here around 14-1 mark.
All right, with ground theory for Pythagoras from Ed. Vincent, your thoughts?
Well, I think, again, ground is the key here. There's an Irish horse in here. Visualization, think it has to be involved somewhere. It's a juicy price. I see it's now 19 or 18-1 on Betfair at the moment. Big price each way here. Depends on how Khartoum runs in the Jersey. If you happen to, regardless of whether you back Khartoum or not, but if you're watching the Jersey and you see Khartoum running well, I'd be inclined to go and have a few quid on this straight away. The two of them have linked form. Khartoum, that was over a mile. Khartoum is dropping down to 7 in the Jersey. This horse is stepping up to 1.25 miles here. Visualization, been improving all season, and I love these horses that improve, and has absolutely no problem with the ground. I think the step up and trip today could see a little bit more improvement, and it definitely is a player each way.
Visualization there from Vincent. I'm going for one at a big price, and that is Without Revenge. As a 2-year-old, tried soft ground, was well beaten by Adair on that occasion, but I was really taken by his last start win, really running away from his rivals, and I think he could be on an upward curve. So at around the 25-1 mark, I think he could be an each-way option here. Let's have a look at the team selections for the Golden Gates. Fantastic Fox from Stephen, 9-1 to win with 888. Pythagoras from Ed at 11-1 each way. Visualization 12-1 to win from Vincent, and I'm with Without Revenge 25-1. Tough way to sort of wrap up the day, because then we get into one of the great races on the Royal Ascot week, and that is the longest race we'll have of the week, the Queen Alexandra, the traditional finale to the Royal Meeting. Falconade is the market leader for this marathon contest, currently at around 7-2. Staghorn, certainly a very promising type, currently at around 9-2. Stratum's at 5-1. Then we get to Mirando, excuse me, at 13-2. The Grand Visor at 7-1. And 11-1 or bigger for the remainder of the field. A massive event to finish the meeting with, Stephen. 2 miles, 5.5 furlongs. It's around 4,300 metres, give or take. What a race.
Well, I mean, spare a thought, Shane, for those poor on-course bookmakers who will still be here. They'll have been here for about 12 hours by the time this race finishes.
I'm getting a handkerchief out of my I just dab my eyes. Emotional for the bookmakers.
I was saying to Ed yesterday that it was about 6:30 and Ascot was still going on. We felt like it'd been on all day. I'm not sure about these late finishes. I must admit, I know that all the punters had left the track at about 5 o'clock yesterday. There's about 12 people left by 6:20 for this race. This is a very interesting race. I've gone for Mirando here because Andrew Balding's going so well, and he comes from a strong line of form at Goodwood. I like that Hookham race, and he was an unlucky loser there. Now, he's never been beyond 2 miles, and this is 2 miles 6 on testing ground, but he's a smooth traveller. I think he'll be dropped out miles out the back and trying to ridden to get home. He's run once over 2 miles at Ascot behind Trushan in a very strong race. And watching that run back this morning, he had running left. I mean, he never landed a blow, and he was staying on one pace. So I'm hopeful he'll stay. He's around about 7 or 8-1. I think he's a win-only bet. Some people like to play each way, but if you're not sure they're going to stay, you certainly don't want to be taking sort of 2-1 a place. If he doesn't stay, he'll be absolutely legless. But I think 7 or 8-1, he's the value in the race. I know that Staghorn of Archie Watson's is very strongly fancied and likely to front run under Holly Doyle, so that one should go as well. But Mirando for me.
All right, Miranda on top from Staghorn. Ed, give us your assessment.
Yeah, unfortunately for Stephen, I'm giving him the 2-stone penalty again of another selection because I'm with Miranda here. But I just thought, just listen to Andrew Balding saying it's a little bit of a shot in the dark. However, everything he's seen from the horse recently makes them think this is worth a go. He's just looking a bit. He's thoroughly exposed. He's getting older, especially like myself, getting incredibly slow. And I just think having a proper test of stamina is probably what he wants these days. Look, he's a very good Group 3 horse. He's won the Ormond. He won a Group 3 at Ascot on soft ground. He's got some very smart form to his name, and in every race over a mile 4, mile 6, even at 2 miles in recent times, he's just hit a flat spot and got going a bit too late, I think. So I could see the trainer logic here in going for a proper test of stamina. He said, well, you'll find out one way or the other. Stick him on heavy ground over 2 miles 6 furlongs. That'll then you'll know. So look, a little bit of shot in the dark regards to trip. This horse definitely has the back class, will handle ground, or at least does up to 2 miles. And has group winning form at the track as well. And the Andrew Balding team have had a great week. So I thought there were more positives than negatives about Miranda.
All right, Miranda on top. Vincent, give us your assessment.
Well, I'm going to go against the guys here, obviously. I think it's going to be an Irish 1-2 is what I think. I think Stratham and Falcon Flight are the two for me. Falcon Flight, for me, if you're betting each way, doing some each way multiples, he's a moral to be involved here with Frankie Dettori on and won Chester Cup. Definitely going to be involved in my mind anyway. And the other one then is Stratham. Stratham is Willie Mullins trains him for these races for the owner Tony Bloom. I'd be surprised if Bloom doesn't play here, which if he does, the price is going to end up crazy short if he does. This is probably the last hurrah for this horse, but there's going to be a day in him, I feel. They've been training him for these type of races. Ryan Moore, like all week we've had Willie and Ryan. They've been knocking on the door in these. I think they'll be knocking on the door again. I think Falcon Flight possibly will win, but I went for Stratham because of the price. He's a slightly bigger price, but I think the two of them are going to be involved, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them first and second.
All right, good push for the Irish from Vincent. I always think the Irish train runners are so hard to beat in this race. However, I've swung back the way of Staghorn. I do like this 4-year-old. I think he's a very, very good stayer in the making. He didn't run too bad when fourth to Stradivarius, beating about 10 lengths in the Cigaro as a lead-up to the Royal Meeting. And I think with his step up in trip, where he is proven to be a stayer already in his limited career thus far, I think there might be some better races in store for him as he progresses as a 5-6-year-old in the next few years. But I'm happy to go with him, Staghorn on top. I agree with Stephen. I think he's going to be bang on speed. And from there, he will certainly get his chance under Holly Doyle. Let's have a look at the team selections across the board. Stephen and Ed both pushing Mirando. Stratham on top from Vincent, and I'm with Staghorn to wrap up a brilliant week of racing with the Queen Alexandra. All right, guys, the pressure's on. Stephen, give us your nap of the day.
I think my nap now is shown with Starman out in the Wokingham at 5 o'clock. Pendleton, 6 places each way. I don't think he'll be out the frame. I think he'll go really close with any luck in running.
All right, big push for Pendleton there from Stephen. Good luck to you. Ed, give us your nap.
4:20, the Diamond Jubilee Group 1 action. The ground has come right for Art Power, who has some excellent form at this track, and clearly this has been the target for some time. I'd be very disappointed if Art Power's out of the 3.
All right, Art Power, the best from Ed. Vincent, you've been in fantastic form, particularly over the last few days. Give us your best.
Well, I think the one of the first Point Lonsdale for me is the max bet of the week for me. So whatever you're having on that, when you collect, I think you should then do an each way treble, Wonderful Tonight, Dream of Dreams, and either Falcon Flight or Stratham in the last. Maybe do 2 each way trebles, put in both of the 2 in the last. One of them will definitely be involved.
All right, massive push for Point Lonsdale, but to play it out over the other races with some good options there. Good luck to you, Vincent. And from my perspective, I'm 100% aligned with Vincent. I think Point Lonsdale will absolutely brain them in the Chesham. I think he's a very, very good horse in the making, and I think he'll win and win easily. Guys, great working with you throughout the week. It's been a big week. Well done, and hopefully we'll find plenty of winners to wrap up the day. But look forward to catching you again soon here on Jump to It.
Cheers, Shane.
All right, that wraps up Jump to It for irishracing.com and Betting Expert. Make sure you head to irishracing.com. Vincent and the team do a fantastic job. You get all of the cards, betting information, odds, news, opinions. Vincent had some good opinions today too regarding the protest hearing yesterday, but head to irishracing.com, use that service, it is fantastic. And of course, bettingexpert.com, Stephen Harris with his tips for each and every UK meeting, or each and every day, I should say, for UK meetings, with his best and his value, and he's certainly been in great form over a long period of time. Looking forward to sticking solid with him. Hope you've enjoyed our special Jump to It Royal Ascot 5-day editions, and we'll see you again very soon here on Jump to It.